Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. Construction in the downtown core is taking a steep toll on businesses, and it'll be a very long road before the work is complete. Dawson Chen has our top story.
There are months to go before this road work on University Avenue West is complete, but the owner and staff of this Windsor restaurant are already feeling desperate. Marina Fish and Chicken is currently surrounded by construction. Employee Hassan Cherry says the situation is hurting business so badly, the owner is considering closing down for good.
He can't stand these losses. Like, he's losing too much now. Like, we have little to no income. Rarely get new customers now. It's really depressing. Like 2 days ago, we only made $60.
The construction began in March and is expected to continue until December. University Avenue West in the area of Crawford Avenue is undergoing a major upgrade, including improvements of storm sewers, water mains, road surfaces, and sidewalks. In a statement to CBC Windsor, the city said it has received few complaints about the work. Every effort is being made to minimize disruptions, and the project is progressing as planned. Ward 3 Councillor Ronaldo Agostino sympathizes with the restaurant and other businesses and residents affected by the work, but he described it as a necessary pain. Last year, a sinkhole opened up on University Avenue West at Church Street. A broken storm sewer pipe was to blame.
It's one of those things where it's inevitable that eventually streets are going to have to get redone, sidewalks are going to have to get redone. And again, this is a huge project for University Avenue, and it's something that just needs to be done. So the benefits in the long term are going to pay off substantially for their businesses, but it's this short-term pain which we've got to try and make it through. And I think if you know there's a business that's got construction going on in front of it and that business is suffering, now's the time as a customer for you to step up and say, hey, I'm going to order some takeout from the restaurants that are in the area. I'm going to try and help them.
Agostino said he'd reached out to the Public Works Department. Within a day of CBC Windsor's interview with Agostino, mounds of dirt in front of the restaurant were removed. But the public will need plenty more patience when it comes to road work. Once this section of University Avenue West is done, upgrades of other sections are next. The city has said the complete rehab of University Avenue West could take until 2033. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Today may be the first official day of summer, but the rain and the heat of the past few days have meant fewer visitors to the annual Midway down at the Riverfront Plaza. Workers say this has been the slowest season in years.
I've been coming to Windsor for 13 years. This is probably the worst year so far. A lot of rain, hot weather. The hot weather's still coming. You notice that the people don't want to come out when it's 40 degrees out. Like me, just sweating sitting here, right? Yep, sales are down. Like I said, it's probably the worst in 20 years. For them guys, probably the worst in 60. We take it day by day, sir. If it's too hot, we open up a little later because nobody comes out anyways, right? Open after it cools down. I mean, usually you can't see the Midway, but it wasn't like that yet. It's slow.
So I bought 3 new rides, two from Prague, one from USA. The USA ride was used. They charged me $209,000 in tariffs. And I still haven't been able to turn a dime on that new ride yet because I'm waiting on the governing bodies of Ontario. I'm just hoping for, there's nothing I can do. I can't beat Mother Nature. She's tough. But hopefully, like Cody said, it's when it comes out, it's at nighttime people come out because it's a lot cooler, and we just hope we can make some ends meet. That's all.
And with that, Khalil Hassanali joins us for our first look at weather. And Khalil, happy first day of summer to you.
Happy first day of summer to you, Kat. So it's going to be warming up even more for anyone that wants to get out over the next couple of days. So this is what we're looking at. Summer solstice is here. It did arrive at 10:42, or it arrives officially at 10:42, but quite warm today. As we're going to see through the next little while, it's going to be clearing as we go through Saturday afternoon, and then a heat warning sets in with temperatures rising to the mid-30s. Get to that in just a little bit. Currently, what are we looking at? It's going to be about 23 degrees in Windsor, and then a little bit warmer as you go towards, or a little bit cooler, I should say, as you go towards London and also towards Kitchener. But it is warming up once again through the rest of the weekend, Katerina.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much, Khalil.
No problem.
Last night, we aired my story about Boblo Island and the question around public access. Well, tonight is part 2 of the series. I dig into Boblo's history and learn more about the historic buildings that are still standing years later. The privately owned Boblo Island is home to a number of historic gems, and some are worried about whether they're being properly cared for.
I think that says November 23rd, 1838 was when they started, and they finished it in 39.
Bill Brundage lives in Amherstburg. He loves history and spent years leading the charge to restore the wartime British blockhouse on Boblo's south end. This is what it used to look like.
I was appalled at the condition it was in. And so I said, somebody's got to do something. This is a very historic building.
It was rebuilt with community funding and support from the late engineer Norm Becker. It was a labor of love, but in the last few years, access to it became more limited. Brundage is worried about its future.
They let me go over, but that's it. I just go over and look at it.
He used to help care for it, and despite having Parkinson's disease, he'd like to continue doing so. But Amoco, the company that owns the blockhouse and most of the island, says it's become a safety issue and he's not allowed inside. The structure is fully fenced off now, despite being a National Historic Site.
I think it should be open to the public.
In recent years, public access to the island has been limited in general. Only residents and invited guests are allowed to take the ferry over to the island.
It will be open to the public in the fullness of time.
Cindy Prince is the VP of Development for Amoco. She says construction in the area of the blockhouse and the protection of the island's endangered snakes are both factors, but she hopes to open up more of Boblo to the public in the next 5 years. But Brundage doesn't really believe it.
Sorry.
This one's fun, so you gotta...
Meg Reiner is the collections coordinator at the Marsh Historical Collection in Amherstburg. They have collected memorabilia over the years related to Boblo's heyday. She says the island is still full of gems, like the lighthouse managed by Parks Canada.
That's an important building because it represents the marine history of the area. You know, Amherstburg was a huge port, and that's a big part of our history here. And then the blockhouse has that military connection. And then you also have all the buildings that represent the amusement park years.
The amusement park buildings are municipally designated properties of interest rather than having official heritage designation.
That only protects them from demolition, so they can still experience demolition by neglect.
She says she'd like to see them repurposed, like the dance hall. CBC was able to go inside.
So this is a dance hall.
That's so cool.
It's very cool.
Prince says the company would like to reopen it one day after other projects are completed.
I don't know what the appropriate adaptive reuse is, but you can see the stone and the steel is still in beautiful condition.
She says anyone worried about the future of the buildings on the island need not be concerned.
At this point in time, we have an agreement with the municipality that we will preserve these buildings. We also have an obligation under our site plan agreement with the municipality to preserve these buildings in an appropriate manner.
The town's heritage planner confirms they last went to Boblo in the fall to walk around and check that the buildings are properly boarded up and that the conservation plan is being followed.
My daughter put this together for a Christmas present for me.
For Brundage, the blockhouse continues to have hold of his heart, and he hopes to share it with the community once again.
It's not to show off what I've done. That's not the idea, because we had all sorts of volunteers working on it. It's just something that is history.
Now, I would love to hear from you, to hear about your memories of Boblo Island. Please send us an email at windsor@cbc.ca and feel free to include photos. In national news, the mother of a toddler who went missing for 4 days and was eventually found safe has appeared in court. She faces charges of child abandonment. We are no longer naming the mother due to a publication ban to protect the identity of her daughter. The woman will remain detained until her bail hearing, which has been set for early next month. After the court proceeding, the woman's lawyer made a brief comment.
As of right now, it's a person that's in very high distress. It's somebody who needs help. Right now, the defense is trying to get an exit plan for her in order to get her help as soon as possible, and that's pretty much where we're at today. So there will not be any other comment at this point.
A police drone spotted the little girl on Wednesday along a highway about 50 kilometers west of the Quebec border. And in local news, Windsor police say that its officers shot and killed a dog during a call Thursday afternoon. They say that it happened after a 45-year-old man who was experiencing a mental health crisis directed his pit bull to bite the officers. The incident occurred shortly after 2 o'clock in the afternoon near the corner of Tecumseh Road West and Huron Church. Police say they used a taser to gain control of the man who resisted arrest, physically assaulted one officer, and threatened to kill another. Police called the dog aggressive and say that it was shot after non-lethal efforts were ineffective. The man was apprehended to receive mental health treatment. He was also charged with assaulting a police officer, uttering threats to cause death, and failing to comply with a release order. An investigation into the incident is still ongoing, and police are asking anyone with information to come forward. The House of Commons is now voting on Bill C-5. The Speaker of the House has approved a Bloc Québécois request for 2 separate votes. One vote will be on trade barriers. The other concerns legislation that would give the government power to fast-track approvals for major projects. David Thurton reports.
What got accomplished during the session, do you think?
Not a whole lot of anything.
Not a whole lot of anything.
Mixed views on this parliamentary sitting.
It's been really busy, right? Last 6 months has been go, go, go.
Go, go, go for a new prime minister with a trip to Washington, a cabinet swearing in, and a king's visit. The opposition noting how much of the government's agenda remains incomplete.
The Prime Minister's 4 weeks in Parliament were filled with broken Liberal promises. Broken promises on spending, broken promises on the tax cut.
Mr. Speaker, tax cut for 22 million Canadians by July 1st. Check. DST off of homes for first-time home buyers. Check. And today, Mr. Speaker, and I invite the honourable member to join us, the bill to build Canada strong, the bill to build jobs in this country, create opportunity right across this land. Check, Mr. Speaker.
Mark Carney's major projects bill is on track for a final vote. The bill enables the government to approve projects up front before environmental reviews are complete. It also hands cabinet ministers sweeping powers to override federal laws.
Where are the breaks in this legislation, and why are there no reasonable limits put in this legislation so that this government can evoke the confidence of the people?
The transport minister suggested politics were at the heart of those concerns.
I guess I'd like to understand whether you are concerned that as a result of this legislation, we will build too much. Whether as a result of this legislation, we will get too many major projects built.
Excuse me, I think that is actually a very pejorative way of characterizing my concern, and Canadians are concerned.
The bill also faces pushback from Indigenous peoples, concerned the law bulldozes their constitutional rights.
Liberals are confident that they'll get the bill passed tonight, and then it's off to the Red Chamber, where it could face some challenges there. Senators want to make their own amendments. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
With hopes of a trade deal on the horizon, Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens is taking his message across the border. He's at the United States Conference of Mayors in Florida. He says he's hearing from many mayors who don't support Trump's trade war, and not just Democrats. He spoke with Power and Politics host David Cochran earlier today.
When talking to mayors here and across the United States, they're starting to feel the impact on infrastructure and development in their communities. They're seeing the increase with respect to softwood lumber and steel as well. Those costs are going up. They're seeing it on consumer confidence and consumer demand. They're seeing the supply chain disruptions that are happening. And so it's not just us, and we've always said this from the beginning, David, this is not just going to be a trade war where the casualties are going to be in Canada. There's going to be casualties on both sides of the border, and that pain is starting to be felt. And I hate to take any joy in anyone else's pain, but I'm happy to hear that they're now at the point where they're experiencing that, because you're more likely to say something when you actually feel the pain that was only talked about just a few months ago.
Take a look at this. It's not just humans who visit the Midway, it's geese too. I hope that they are okay in all that heat And Khalil will have more on weather for us later in the program. And when we come back, national and international news. Stay with us. Welcome back. Via Rail and Unifor have reached an agreement in principle in their contract talks. The union represents 2,400 workers across the country. Via described the agreement as a fair and equitable solution that would safeguard service for all Canadians. Unifor says the agreement includes gains in wages, job security, and working conditions, though neither side revealed specific details of the deal. Unifor's members will vote on the agreement in the coming weeks. The deal means Via avoids a strike which could have disrupted passenger services as early as next week. And Statistics Canada is reporting a boost in retail sales for the month of April, but preliminary figures are showing the same won't be true for the month of May. CBC's Scott Peterson has the breakdown.
Consumers might be running out of gas, and that's the latest from Statistics Canada today. Early estimates show that retail sales will slow in the month of May by 1.1%, and that would be the biggest monthly pullback in a year. In April, retail sales were in positive territory, however, up 0.3% to just over $70 billion. That's collectively what we all spent together. And in April, that increase was led by car and car parts, up 1.9%, as more consumers tried to buy pre-tariff inventory. Sporting goods, hobbies, furniture, electronics, and appliances all saw gains in April, and sales at clothing retailers pulled back. Gasoline sales also fell 2.7% in April, with the consumer carbon tax ending and gasoline prices coming down. Economists are worried about the uncertainty of U.S. tariffs on consumer spending, along with high household debt levels, and say if U.S. tariff disruption continues to impact the Canadian economy, there will be even more belt tightening in the months ahead. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
And in international news, European ministers met with their Iranian counterpart on Friday to help bring an end to the Iran-Israeli war. Though there was no breakthrough, hopes were raised that Iran would participate in future talks. The escalating war was also the focus of a meeting at the UN Security Council, which Iran had requested. Meanwhile, as Chris Brown reports, Israel and Iran continue to exchange missile and drone strikes.
If there is going to be a diplomatic solution to this war, the path to it remains very uncertain, as top Israeli officials said again today that their country intends to continue with the war it launched against Iran until the nuclear threat from Iran is dealt with Iran countering by saying it won't negotiate anything while it's under attack. European foreign ministers are nonetheless trying, and the first steps happened in Geneva today as they met with Iran's foreign minister. As the meeting broke, they emphasized that there is no military solution to the issue of Iran's nuclear program, only diplomatic ones. Here's David Lammy of the UK.
We are keen to continue ongoing discussions and negotiations with Iran, and we urge Iran to continue their talks with the United States. This is a perilous moment, and it is hugely important that we don't see regional escalation of this conflict.
Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff is apparently also in the mix as well and talking to the Iranians, according to U.S. officials. In his remarks before the talks, Iran's foreign minister portrayed his country as the victim here.
We were attacked in the midst of an ongoing diplomatic process. We were supposed to meet with Americans on 15 June to craft a very promising agreement for peaceful resolution of the issues fabricated over our peaceful nuclear program. It was a betrayal of diplomacy.
The minister went on to say that by targeting nuclear facilities, Israel is committing a war crime. But that argument is unlikely to sway the Israelis or the Americans, who have accused Iran of dragging out pre-war talks deliberately to try to stall for time. In the meantime, both sides are continuing their attacks on the other. Dozens of people were injured in Haifa when an Iranian missile struck there, part of a large barrage that also caused hits in Beersheba and other parts of southern Israel. Israel has vowed to step up its attacks on Iran to increase the pressure on the regime leaders, which they also continue to do today, striking numerous targets in Tehran and also far beyond Iran's capital. Chris Brown, CBC News, Jerusalem.
We'll be right back with your full weather forecast. Stay with us. Khalil Hassan Ali is back now for more on weather. Khalil, we got to talk about the heat and that heat warning that you're tracking.
Definitely. So summer starting off with quite the bang, as they would like to say. So yes, definitely going to get hot over the next couple of days. So what are we going to be looking at? As we mentioned today, summer solstice coming at 10:42 at night, longest day of the year as well, mixed in with that. As we go through the overnight hours, it is going to be cloudy, but hopefully it's going to start clearing up by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon. And then you can enjoy that heat if that is what you like, but make sure you take the necessary precautions like covering up and using sunscreen. And as you mentioned, Katerina, right off the top, we have that heat warning, and I'll get to that as we go through the rest of the weekend, the last part of the weekend, and into the early part of next week. Current temperatures in Windsor, we do have 23 degrees. That's down from our high of 26 earlier today, a bit cooler towards London. As we go through the overnight hours, it's dropping down to 20 degrees. There is a 60% chance of some rain coming down, but it should be spotty. It won't be constant through the entire night. That goes for Chatham-Kent. That also goes for London, anywhere there. There is going to be maybe some rain coming down. As we look through the next couple of days, look at those red lines bumping up towards southwestern Ontario. That is going to be bumping up our temperature quite heavily, and that is going to bring that heat and that heat warning, which is already in place for southwestern Ontario. You see all of that coming through. It's going to be 31 or 32 degrees in Windsor tomorrow, 31 through Chatham-Kent, 29 in London. And as we look through the next couple of days, 32 and then 35 on Sunday. Monday, we're getting up to 36 degrees. There isn't going to be really any cloud cover for us to be looking at. So it is going to be really the brunt of that heat coming in and no reprieve. So once again, cover up, sunscreen, stay hydrated. That's going to be the most important thing for everyone. There's maybe a chance of some rain coming down on Tuesday. 35 degrees is the high once again. And as we go towards Wednesday, a chance of some rain coming down both of those days. Still going to be very, very humid. Also still going to be very hot and sticky as well. So even though there is cloud cover, you do want to take necessary precautions into effect. So over the next little bit, that heat warning should set in by tomorrow afternoon, and it's going to continue Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that high temperature. So really take care as you go through the next little bit, because it is really going to be affecting us, and there isn't really going to be any relief from that hot weather through the overnight hours as well. This low still in the low 20s. So even overnight, it's still going to be quite mild as anyone getting out there, Katerina, over the next little bit. So,
and Khalil, those numbers make me sweaty just looking at them. So thank you so much for that. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a fabulous weekend and stay safe in the heat.